Hi, my name is Brendan Kelly. In this video, we continue the conversation about how you can set and achieve your financial life goals. Continuing on our conversation with Mary, we go into different property investing strategies and their profitability to help Mary determine what she can achieve in a 12-month time frame. The question we are looking to answer is, will she be able to achieve her 12-month financial goal? In working with Mary, we talk through a variety of different property investing strategies, their profitability, and the time it takes to conclude on those strategic approaches. This sort of information is the sort of information you can apply to your own goal setting. So when listening to this video, I encourage you to have pen and paper handy so that you may be able to determine if your 12-month financial goals are realistic. Let's pick up where we left off from our last video.
Now what I want to do is start to drill backwards from your 12-month goal to what you need to be doing tomorrow. You okay if we do that? Yeah? This is where it gets a reality check. This is where it gets real now. This is this is a theoretical model to get to this number. Yeah? Designed to inspire, designed to encourage, designed to build belief. From here, we now need to make it real. How we make it real is we look at the deals that can be done in that time frame to deliver this outcome and the sort of money you're going to need. You okay if we do that? All right, great. Mary, what deal do you want to be taking on? What is the next property deal that you think you might like to do?
I'd like to do development.
Development, great. How many units?
2.
2. Cool. So a 1 into 2, or buy a house that's renovatable and then build 2 on the back?
Or just one that's renovatable and put 1 on the back.
Or put one, okay.
Just one.
Good. So pick one. Any, many, money, no. Bob?
That one.
That one?
Yeah.
So buy a renovatable property, subdivide it, build 1 on the back. Comfortable with that as an approach?
Yeah.
You okay if we use that as an example for our modelling? Yeah? All right, great. So the model is buy, reno, subdivide, build, sell. Yep? That's our model. Okay, cool. In order to know then the size of deal we want, we need to work backwards and understand the numbers around this deal. Yeah? This is a strategic approach. This strategic approach has a set of numbers that work. Can I share with you those numbers that work to give you an idea of how to do your goal setting? To make it real? You okay if we do that?
Yeah.
All right, so we work backwards. All goal setting is most effective when you work backwards from what you want to today, yes? So we're going to do that. In 12 months, yeah? Let's run with the premise that this can occur in 12 months if we're pretty active. In 12 months, you want to have profited from this $90,000, yes? All right. Question becomes, what size deal do we need to make this happen in order to know that we can believe, or in order to believe this is possible, and how fast do we have to act? Right, $90,000. In a broad rule of thumb approach around add value deals, in the simplest sort of add value deals, before you get into 3 units, we're talking basic sort of deals. An add value deal is a renovation deal. Add value deal is buy a block of land, subdivide into 2, sell off the back. Or an add value deal is buy a block of land, build a house on it and sell. That's an add value deal. In this instance, we're going to do a reno, subdivide, build and sell. For every add value component that you do on a deal, approximately 10% of the buy price can be expected as profit. Yeah? It's a basic rule. Thumb. So, because I'm doing a reno, if I buy a $300,000 house, let's say, actually that number works really well and you'll find out in a second. If I buy a $300,000 house, let's say, and I do a cosmetic reno on this house, if I can do it in a 6-month time frame, I'll walk away with about a 10% profit. 10% of the buy price profit, so that's $30,000 profit as a line in the sand. If I can buy a house where I don't do any work on the renovation, any work on the house, but I subdivide it, sell the back block, I can get 10% of the buy price as profit, approximately. Or if I've got a block of land and I'm building a house on it, I can set 10% of the total cost approximately as a profit on a single build. Right, so if I'm spending if I'm buying a property for $300,000 broadly, yes, and I'm doing a reno subdivision build, what would be my profit?
30,000.
30,000, 30,000, $90,000. Yeah? So working from the end in mind, I want a $90,000 deal, yes? I can do a buy, reno, sub, build, sell for a $300,000 purchase price, provided I've got the cash to build to this and the borrowing capacity, and I would yield a $90,000 if I can do it in a 12-month time frame. Sound reasonable?
Yes.
300,000 pretty easy to do as a buy price, correct? Yeah. What are other ways that we can get, so I'll come back to that in a second, yeah? What are other ways that we can earn $90,000? Hands up those who are interested in doing renos. Just a reno, buy, reno, sell. Right. In a buy, reno, sell scenario, 10% of the buy price is profit, yes? If I want a $90,000 profit, yeah, from a cosmetic renovation, what's the value of the land or what's the value of the purchase I need? 900,000. I need to buy a $900,000 property to earn 10% from doing the reno, which will give me a $90,000 profit in a 6-month time frame. Yes? But if I'm really good, maybe I can get 2 of them done in a year. If I'm doing 6-month time frame for a reno, maybe I can do 2. In which case, if I don't want to, or I don't have the money for a $900,000 property, maybe I can do 2 $450,000 properties in a year. Can you see that? Cosmetic reno. The structure is buy it, settlement, yes? 3-month reno, 6 weeks selling period, 6 weeks settlement period, 6 months settlement to settlement.
This kind of modelling, do you take into account tax? Is it if the person is a highest rate tax rate?
No, there is no tax in this conversation at all at this point.
So given this is compounding, isn't that going to make a huge difference at the end of your 7-year period in this example?
So we go for, again, tax gets managed along the way. Tax structuring has different implications on the amount of tax you pay and when you pay it. And you can utilise money differently during the process. But yes, you're right, you would need to take into consideration over the longer term tax. I agree with you. So the more you know about your strategic approach, the more you know about your strategic approach, the more you create the model on the profit that you're looking for. Can you see how we're working backwards now? Yeah? The premise here is to continue to take whatever profit you get and reinvest it. And with the accumulated cash and the accumulated activity and the accumulated knowledge, you will achieve that as you grow in years and experience. Does that make sense?
At what point does she stop selling off but keeping so it generates
Brilliant.
profit
When she has that,
in cash?
yeah. Because then you take that, you go, well, that plus maybe 5% for stamp duties if we get down to particulars, but when you've got that, yeah, you then go and buy your positive cash flow or your high yielding properties outright for that or more to earn that and never have to worry about it again.
Well, what about the debt to loan ratio then?
It's in cash, you bought it in cash, there is no debt.
Yeah, but you're assuming that whatever she buys has to be returning 8%.
Correct. Which you've developed in skill here. Yeah? You don't have that back here. You don't know what you're doing necessarily around that back here. You are growing. You're growing year on year. Yeah? Beautiful.
How do you had a property.
Oh, this is great. Challenge. I love it.
You have a property for $1.8 million. How the hell are you going to make $150,000 out of it? If you own it outright,
Yes?
show me how you're going to make $150K on it.
But you wouldn't buy just the one property at one
Well,
point.
one question at a time.
Because you're saying buy outright. So
Yes.
you might buy 1,
Yes.
you might buy 2, you might
Yes.
buy 3, you might
Yes.
buy 4.
Yes?
If you were lucky, you don't have any mortgage on it.
Correct?
You've got, rental agent and that sort of stuff.
Correct.
You're not going to make $150,000, are you?
If you get that after all costs, yes, you will.
Yeah.
So your challenge then is that, isn't it?
But that's pretty, I mean, you know, if you had two $600,000 properties.
Yes.
They're not gonna give you, $75,000.
Okay, come on, Chuck.
If at 8%, if they're earning 8% net of costs, yes, they will.
That 8% isn't realistic, you're never gonna get.
So what are you comfortable with?
Well, I'm just sort of thinking, if you've got a $600,000 house,
Yeah, I get it. What number here are you comfortable with?
well, I don't know, I haven't worked out the numbers, but
So would 5% be realistic for you?
I don't, 5%.
Yeah, 5% rental
I
income.
don't even think so, I think it, you know.
2%?
It's probably 2.
2? Okay, great. So I don't care what this number is. You need to be happy with it. These are your goals, yeah? It's irrelevant what I say. What's relevant is what you believe. If you believe that you can only earn 2% from holding a property, let's say, 2% from holding a property, yeah, and you want this much income, then you do that number divided by 2% to make that number, which means you're working a bloody long time to get that number, but that's the number you're after. Does that make sense? Yeah? So my encouragement would be to skill up in thinking differently about how you can create a higher yield, because there are ways you can do it. Tony, what's your commercial yielding at?
Gross or net? On a net value, it's 10%.
Net, it's 10%. Net. After everything, 10%. Yeah? So it's possible to achieve, yeah? Does that make sense? I appreciate your perspective, and I appreciate the, hang on a minute, no, it can't. I get that, yeah? And from a different perspective and a different thinking, it can, it does, it has, and it will. But I appreciate where you're coming from, yes?
I'll hold that belief.
You are more than welcome. I know, I'm not trying to convince you, yes? Because it's part of the journey. This number is part of your journey. This is part of your conversation that you need to resolve in the years that it takes to get there, yes? Part of this is can I be bold? Are you okay if I'm bold for just a minute?
I don't know, try it.
If this is 2%, 2%, 2% as a perspective, yeah? My encouragement over this period is to go, well, maybe other things are possible, yeah? Rather than, no, it can't happen, yeah? Well, maybe, yeah? Just try them on. You okay with trying them on? Thank you, appreciate that. Excellent. And you had a question? No, someone got for you had a question? No?
No, I just said it doesn't necessarily mean it's one property.
Oh, correct. No, multiples. I wouldn't rely on 1.875 million, because if that's vacant at any point, your income's stuffed. Yes. You need to mitigate that risk. Cool. All right. Cool. Is this exciting? I mean, I'm excited, but you can tell. But is this exciting?
Yes.
Yes. All right. So let's go then into Mary. We're going to go. We okay if we go back to Mary for a bit. All right. I'm going to go back to Mary, and we're going to talk about this deal for Mary, yeah? Because I'm trying to get Mary to identify what she needs to be doing tomorrow, yeah? Have I got enough time?
So in our video, we were able to relate the strategic approach that Mary wanted to take on for her property investing with the goal that she wanted to achieve in 12 months. In doing so, Mary realised that she needed to purchase a property for around about $300,000. But the problem is not entirely solved yet. Our next step is to map out in time what it will take to satisfy this strategic objective. During the presentation, did you notice that some members of the audience struggled with the information being delivered? I encourage you to broaden your thinking and try on new ideas. Because often, new ideas are the difference between success and failure in achieving your goals. A final word of encouragement, if I may. Persist with the videos that you're watching now. Every video is a contribution towards your ability to achieve what you want from your property investing and to live the life that you want. Until we meet again, invest wisely.